Hi and welcome to Daily TFT Tips. Today the topic is about an item that has been annoying me in my stream for a while now, and I figured I should make a video about it. I'm talking about Last Whisper. So if we look at this Irelia here, this looks like a pretty solid item build, right? Infinity Edge, Last Whisper, BT. And you wouldn't be wrong, it is a pretty decent item build. But the thing is, I don't like Last Whisper. So the thing, you might ask yourself, but why? Why, right? She might be stuck in the front line. It's really useful for her to reduce the armor on her on the opponent, on the tank, so she's able to get the reset. And technically, you're right. But the thing about Last Whisper is this: on Irelia, for example, it doesn't actually increase her damage at all. If you think about it, right? Okay, so it's 15% crit, so obviously that's a little bit of bonus damage for the Infinity Edge. It's a bit of attack speed, that's nice, but that's pretty much it. And Irelia also has an interaction that you should know about, which is that first comes the damage, then comes the Last Whisper. So that means that if the Irelia, well, she has to do an auto attack, and obviously for the first target this doesn't matter, right? But if she's starting to do her reset jumps and stuff like this, then when she does the jump, the person don't have their armor reduced until the jump is over. And this is kind of a problem, because that kind of means that Last Whisper doesn't help Irelia to get the resets. For example, if you ended up having Infinity Edge BT and a Giant Slayer on her, she would be more likely to be getting resets because the Giant Slayer will increase the damage of her ultimate, will more likely burst the target, and in consequence is gonna make her dash around the target. So now the argument is, well, but I still want the armor reduction, right? Overall, my argument with Irelia works a little bit like this. I don't think Last Whisper is a bad item on her, but in a lot of cases, having Last Whisper on somebody else, a Senna, for example, in a Socialite Irelia Enchanter setup, can do the same thing. If you make sure that the Last Whisper is behind the person that Irelia is attacking first, and then she ends up attacking sort of like, so she does the ult. So here we have a setup where, for example, the Ashe has the Last Whisper, the Irelia is in line with Ashe, which means they're both attacking the same target, which means that Ashe will proc the Last Whisper, so Irelia might not be stuck on the frontliner. And then if she ends up doing her ult resets, and she ends up charging in the backline because you have assassins or whatever, at that point, if she's in the backline, she's not going to really be needing that Last Whisper anymore, so you might end up with an overall DPS loss. Now, before we wrap up this video, there's two more interactions that you should definitely know about regarding Last Whisper. One of them is that Bramble Vest still gets, even though the opponents have a Bramble Vest, they still get their armor reduced. Because the way Bramble Vest works is it negates the physical damage. Well, now it negates like 75% of the critical damage, but it still counts as a crit, right? So it's like the crit comes first, which applies the Last Whisper, and then the damage gets reduced. So you can't counter Last Whisper completely just by building a Bramble Vest, which is something I think a lot of people think it does, but it doesn't. The other one is this. The other one is that Jeweled Gauntlet still works with Last Whisper. So the way Last Whisper is worded is that all you have to do is inflict a critical hit. It doesn't specify that it needs to be an auto attack or a physical hit. No, it just says inflicting a critical hit. Which means that if you end up combining Last Whisper with Jeweled Gauntlet on a caster, you can, and there's some AoE casters that can be pretty useful for this. You can apply the Last Whisper in a AoE radius, and this way you don't have to put Last Whisper on your main carry. So wait. So you can see it here. I'm gonna pause the recording here. You see this shield thingy, right? There's like a shield that's like split in half. It's around the health bar here. This means that the armor got reduced. This is sort of like, this is the visual indicator for Last Whisper. And obviously Brand can't auto attack here, so this proves that his ultimate that crit, his ability that crit ended up reducing the armor of the dragon. Just to make an example how this can be useful, for example, Irelia is a pretty popular comp in some sort of innovators or enchanters, and I feel like Echo, for example, can be a pretty solid choice for Last Whisper if he ends up having a decent amount of crit, if you end up running Assassins, for example, or Senna, who has an AoE ability. And this way you can potentially give your Irelia more damage or more sustain items, depending on whatever you have, which in some cases might be the better choice. It's not always the better choice, but this is just something I want you guys to remember, that putting Last Whisper on your main carry isn't always the correct choice, and you have more alternatives than you think you do. So I think that was it for me today. See you guys tomorrow.